Listen up, because this might be the most important message you hear this year. You're not broken. You're not behind. And no, you're not alone. You're in your 20s staring at a world that feels like it's moving faster than ever. Everyone's posting wins, traveling the world, building startups, landing dream jobs. And here you are wondering if you missed the memo. But let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Being lost is not a curse, it's a signal. It means you're awake. It means your soul refuses to settle for average. It means there's a fire inside you that knows you're made for more, and it won't shut up until you start listening. This decade isn't about having it all figured out. It's about figuring out who the hell you really are. It's about falling, failing, breaking, and rebuilding something unshakable. Because greatness, it's not built in comfort. It's built in the late nights when you doubt yourself. It's built when you're broke, scared, and unsure. But you show up anyway. So stop waiting for clarity to knock on your door. Clarity comes through action. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a decision. Take one step, any step. Start the side hustle. Make the move. Have the hard conversation. Say yes to the opportunity that terrifies you. Your 20s aren't a straight road. They're a jungle, and the machete is in your hands. The path doesn't appear until you start cutting. So here's your wake-up call. You don't find yourself. You build yourself. Today, make the choice to stop chasing who you should be and start becoming who you're meant to be. Don't wait for confidence. Create it through courage. Don't beg for permission. Give it to yourself, because the future isn't waiting, and neither should you. Now go, move, build, and make this decade your launch pad. The world needs what only you can bring, and it starts right now. If you feel lost in your 20s, it's time to understand something powerful. That feeling isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of life. It means your heart is beating in more ways than one. It means you're not coasting. You're not numb. You're searching for something deeper, more meaningful, more you. That sense of confusion or uncertainty, it's not weakness. It's the beginning of awareness. It's a signal from your inner self that says, we're not going to sleepwalk through this life. We're here to live. There's a cultural myth that says by your mid-20s, you should have your career lined up, your relationships sorted, your goals crystal clear, and your future mapped out. But that story is fiction, a dangerous one, because the truth is, your 20s are supposed to be messy. This is the decade where you experiment, not settle. It's the decade where you say yes to the wrong things so you can discover what's right. It's the decade where you feel lost precisely so you can find your own direction, not the one handed to you by your parents, your friends, or society. Being lost is not being lazy. It's not being aimless. It's refusing to blindly follow a path just because it's convenient or expected. It's standing in the middle of 100 different roads and asking, which one actually feels right to me? And sure, that process can feel overwhelming, but what a beautiful kind of overwhelm to have choices, to have time to explore who you are before locking into who you'll become. See, people who feel lost are often the ones who care the most. They want their life to mean something. They're not content with just checking boxes. They want impact. They want joy. They want alignment. And they're willing to wrestle with discomfort to find it. That's not weakness. That's strength in its rawest form. You're shedding old identities, beliefs, and assumptions that no longer fit. You're unlearning things that were never true to begin with. That's painful, but it's necessary. You can't become your true self without letting go of the false one. That sense of being lost, it's not the end. It's the in-between. It's the space where transformation is happening, even if you can't see it yet. And yes, some days it will feel like everyone else is ahead of you. Some days you'll scroll through social media and wonder if you're the only one who hasn't figured it out. But remember, comparison is the thief of perspective. No one posts their confusion. No one uploads their sleepless nights, their tears, or their inner chaos. Everyone is stumbling. Everyone is searching. They just hide it well. Being lost forces you to ask the questions most people avoid their whole lives. Who am I? What do I want? What matters to me? Not just what looks good from the outside. It pushes you to dig deeper than the surface answers. It pushes you to pause, to reflect, to redefine success for yourself. And most importantly, it pushes you to grow, not through ease, but through experience. You're not failing because you don't have it all together. You're growing because you've decided to walk your own path. Even if you don't know exactly where it leads, you're not broken. you're becoming. And that process, it's messy, confusing, and absolutely necessary. So many people spend years, even decades, waiting for the right time, waiting for a sign, waiting for the plan to become clear, the path to light up, the fear to go away. They believe that clarity is something that arrives magically like a light bulb moment that turns everything on, but that's not how it works. Clarity isn't gifted, it's earned. And the way you earn it is through action. There's a lie that says you have to know exactly what you're doing before you start. That you need to feel confident, ready, prepared. But the truth is, you don't need to know step 10 before you take step 1. You just need to move. The path reveals itself only to the person willing to walk it. You don't think your way into clarity. You act your way into it. And each action, no matter how small, gives you more information, more experience, more insight into what's right for you and what's not. Most people are stuck not because they're incapable, but because they're inactive. They're trapped in the loop of overthinking. Should I do this? Should I do that? What if it doesn't work? What if I mess up? They get so consumed by the need to make the perfect choice that they make no choice at all. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the very experiences that would have brought the answers they're seeking. Because answers don't come before the journey, they come through it. You could spend years planning and analyzing, but that will never give you the same growth as one real-world step. The job you apply for, the side project you launch, the email you send, the person you finally reach out to. These moments don't just change your situation. They shape your identity. They prove to you that you are capable, resourceful, and in motion. And when you move, even if you're unsure, the universe has something to work with. Opportunities start to appear, lessons start to land, and direction begins to form. So many people underestimate the power of momentum. A small action creates movement, movement builds energy, and energy transforms mindset. That momentum, once it's in motion, can take you places that sitting on the sidelines never could. But you only get there if you're willing to risk imperfection, if you're willing to start before you're ready, if you're willing to look a little lost as you find your way. Action doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. Every move you make, every mistake you endure, sharpens your clarity. You learn what drains you and what fuels you, what excites you and what bores you, what aligns with your values and what doesn't. But you don't learn any of that by sitting still. You learn it by doing, by stepping into the unknown, by trusting that even a misstep is better than no step at all. People who live with clarity didn't get there by luck. They didn't wake up one day with all the answers. They built that clarity brick by brick, decision by decision, through action. Every choice refined their vision. Every challenge shaped their path. And every forward motion, especially when it felt uncertain, gave them feedback that helped them grow. You won't discover your purpose in your head. You'll discover it by engaging with life, by testing, trying, failing, adjusting. The clarity you crave is on the other side of motion. Because movement creates perspective. Perspective creates understanding. And understanding leads to direction. You are not a puzzle that needs to be solved. You are not a fixed version of yourself waiting to be discovered like some buried treasure. You are a living, evolving work in progress, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. The idea that you find yourself as if your identity has already been written and is just waiting to be uncovered is not only misleading, it's limiting. The truth is far more empowering. You build yourself. Everything you experience, every choice, every obstacle, every triumph, and every failure becomes a building block in the architecture of who you are. You are not passively drifting through life, hoping to stumble into a version of yourself that feels right. You are actively shaping that version moment by moment, decision by decision. And that means you have far more power than you think. You're not a passenger. You're the architect. From the moment you step into adulthood, you're handed 1,000 ideas of who you're supposed to be. Parents, teachers, social media, culture, they all try to hand you blueprints. Be this, do that, follow this path. And for a while, it might feel easier to go along with it, to choose what's safe, what's approved, what looks successful on the outside. But eventually, something starts to feel off. The blueprint starts to feel too tight. You realize you're living someone else's version of your life, not your own. That discomfort, it's your signal. It's your internal compass telling you that it's time to stop following and start constructing. That's where the real journey begins. You start tearing down the parts of yourself that were built for others. You start asking better questions. What do I want? What excites me? What values do I actually believe in? Not the ones I was taught, but the ones that resonate in my bones. And when you begin that rebuilding process, it's not always graceful. It's messy. There's trial and error. There are moments of doubt, confusion, and even identity crisis. But in the midst of that chaos, you're laying bricks. You're crafting something solid, something real. You're building a foundation based not on external expectations, but on internal truth. That process takes courage. It takes patience. And it takes radical self-honesty. You have to be willing to admit when you're not being true to yourself. You have to be willing to walk away from things that no longer serve you, even if they once made you feel safe. You have to be willing to fail in public, to start over, to keep adjusting the design of your life until it feels aligned. And most importantly, you have to be willing to accept that the process of becoming is never really finished. Because you are not meant to be static. You're meant to grow, to evolve, to expand. Who you are today might not be who you need to be 5 years from now. And that's not a problem. That's a gift. It means you're never stuck. It means you always have the power to choose again, to shift direction, to build higher, stronger, and more authentically than before. So let go of the pressure to have it all figured out. Let go of the idea that your identity should be clear and complete by a certain age. That's not how this works. You are an evolving project. You are the designer and the design, the artist and the art. And every time you show up with intention, every time you make a move that's aligned with your truth, you add another piece to the masterpiece that is you. Fear is one of the most misunderstood emotions we experience. Most people treat fear as a red light, full stop, a warning to turn around and run. We're taught to avoid it, suppress it, push it down, and pretend it's not there. But what if fear isn't there to stop you? What if fear is actually a signal pointing directly toward the very thing that will grow you? Fear, when you look at it closely, is not the enemy. It's a compass. Think about the things that scare you the most. Speaking up, putting yourself out there, taking a risk, leaving the familiar, starting something new. If you trace that fear back to its source, you'll almost always find something powerful hiding underneath it. A dream, a truth, a desire to expand. Fear shows up most when you are on the edge of transformation. It's not standing in your way, it's standing at the threshold, asking if you're brave enough to walk through. Most people never realize this because they spend their lives running from fear. Then in doing so, they end up running from the parts of themselves that want to grow, lead, speak, love, build, and create. They mistake the discomfort of growth for danger, but discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is development. It's the signal that you're pushing past your limits, challenging your story, and stepping outside the tight little box you've been told to live in. Fear wants to protect you, but it's often working with outdated information. It learned to protect you as a child, in school, in environments where being different, standing out, or failing had consequences. But now, as an adult, those same protective instincts can become a prison if you let them. That fear of failure. It might have saved you embarrassment once, but now it's keeping you from taking the shot that could change your life. That fear of rejection, that might have shielded you from pain, but now it's blocking you from deep, meaningful connection. The truth is, your next level is on the other side of that fear, but you'll never see it if you keep turning back every time your heart races. The most powerful people in the world don't live without fear. They've just trained themselves to stop interpreting fear as a stop sign. They see fear and they lean in. They ask, what am I afraid of? And what does that say about what I value? Because fear always reveals what matters most. You don't fear things you don't care about. If you're scared to fail, it's because succeeding matters to you. If you're afraid to speak, it's because deep down, your voice matters. If you're terrified to be seen, it's because some part of you wants to be seen, fully, and without apology. So instead of running from fear, start listening to it. It holds information. It tells you where you need to go. Not because it's comfortable, but because it's worth it. Growth is never wrapped in comfort. It's wrapped in resistance, challenge, vulnerability, and yes, fear. But when you walk toward it instead of away from it, you begin to access a deeper level of power and purpose. You begin to see that fear is not a barrier, it's a doorway. It's the test that asks, are you willing to become more than who you've been? And the moment you answer yes, you step into a version of yourself that fear alone could never have shown you. The greatest breakthroughs The most meaningful experiences and the most powerful versions of your life are often guarded by fear. It shows up right before everything shifts, not because you're weak, but because you're close. Fear is the body's way of saying, pay attention, this matters. Confidence is one of the most admired traits in the world. We look up to people who carry themselves with certainty, who walk into a room like they belong there, who speak their truth without flinching. And yet so many people wait to feel confident before they act, as if confidence is the prerequisite for doing something bold, something meaningful, something that scares them. But here's the truth most people never hear. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's not handed to you. It's earned, and the currency is courage. Confidence doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's not some magical quality that strikes you when the stars align. It's built slowly, deliberately, and painfully through acts of courage, especially when you're scared out of your mind. The people who seem the most confident are often the ones who have been scared the most, but chose to act anyway. They didn't feel ready. They didn't have all the answers. But they showed up, and that act of showing up, of doing the thing despite the fear, built their confidence from the inside out. You don't get confidence by thinking your way into it. You get it by doing things that are hard, uncomfortable, and sometimes terrifying. You get it by stepping into situations where failure is possible and deciding that your growth is worth the risk. Every time you choose courage, when you speak up in the meeting, when you hit publish, when you say yes to something you've never done before, you earn a little more trust in yourself. That trust over time becomes confidence. The mistake most people make is believing they need to feel confident before they take the leap. But confidence isn't the starting point. It's the result. You can't think your way into feeling worthy. You have to prove to yourself that you can handle the challenge, that you can survive the discomfort, that you can navigate the unknown. Confidence grows in the doing, not the waiting. And yes, in the beginning, courage feels awkward. You shake, you sweat, you question everything. But that's exactly the space where growth lives. Every single time you override that inner voice that tells you to sit down, to play small, to wait, it gets quieter. And your inner leader, your bold self, your real self, gets louder. That's the internal shift where confidence begins to take root. There is no shortcut to real embodied confidence. It's built in the trenches of life, in the moments where you're scared, but you move forward anyway. That first time you put yourself out there won't feel confident. It'll feel like chaos, but you'll get through it. And then the second time, it's a little less scary. Then the third, the fourth, the 10th, it starts to feel natural. That's not magic. That's earned power. And the beautiful part, once you've built confidence in one area, it becomes transferable. The self-trust you build in your career helps you in your relationships. The courage you showed in taking that risk fuels you the next time you face a decision. It stacks. And the more you lean into courage, the stronger your foundation of confidence becomes. Real confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from resilience, from knowing you can handle it, even if it doesn't go perfectly, from knowing that no matter how uncertain it feels, you have your own back. And that kind of confidence, that's unshakable. It's not dependent on other people's opinions or external validation. It's yours, built through your own willingness to face fear and move anyway. Confidence is not found in comfort zones. It's forged in the fire of risk, uncertainty, and bold action. It's grown one courageous decision at a time, and every time you choose courage, you expand the limits of what you believe is possible for yourself. There's this unspoken pressure in your 20s that whispers in your ear. Every time you wake up, you should be further along. You should have the dream job. You should have the perfect relationship. You should know exactly what you're doing with your life. This pressure comes from everywhere. Family, social media, society, even your own inner critic. It convinces you that your 20s are a deadline, that if you haven't figured it all out by 25 or 28 or 29, you've failed. But that belief couldn't be further from the truth. Your 20s aren't a finish line, they're a launch pad. This is a decade of becoming, not finishing, not perfecting, becoming. It's when you gather the pieces. It's when you try things on and throw them back off. It's when you wander and question and explore. Not because you're lost, but because you're learning. You're laying the foundation for the rest of your life. And a strong foundation takes time. It takes work. It takes being willing to not have all the answers right away. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom in motion. The people you look up to, the ones who seem successful, confident, fulfilled, They weren't born that way and they didn't figure it all out in their 20s. What they did was use their 20s. They experimented. They failed. They pivoted. They made decisions that didn't always make sense at the time. And those experiences, all of them, the mistakes, the missteps, the messy parts, built the clarity and strength that you now see as success. But none of it would have happened if they treated their 20s like a deadline. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are loading. Just because you don't see all the results yet doesn't mean they aren't forming. The seeds you're planting now through the jobs that don't work out, the relationships that challenge you, the risks that feel like failures, they're growing roots, deep roots. And deep roots create tall trees. So don't rush the roots just because someone else is already blooming. Trust your own timing. Your 20s are for getting your hands dirty. They're for chasing curiosity, not just checking boxes, for figuring out who you are when no one is watching, for taking jobs that teach you, not just pay you, for saying yes to opportunities that scare you and no to things that drain you, for falling in love, messing it up, healing, and learning how to show up better next time, for building habits that will carry you for decades, for making friends, losing them, finding your people, for starting over as many times as it takes. This is the decade where you learn how to be you, not the version your parents raised, not the version your teachers praised, not the filtered image you post online, but the real, raw, evolving you. And that process isn't linear. It's chaotic and beautiful and entirely yours. The goal is not to arrive. The goal is to evolve, to build the kind of life that feels aligned, even if it looks different from everyone else's. Don't let anyone rush you. Don't let the timelines of others become a ruler you beat yourself with. Life doesn't reward speed. It rewards depth. And the depth you create now will echo into every chapter that follows. So show up fully in your 20s, not with pressure to perform, but with the courage to build. Because when you treat this season as a launch pad, not a deadline, you free yourself to grow, to rise, to reach heights you can't even see yet.